Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different from the previous presentations. My name's Ian. Since we did the introductions, my colleague Paul, who is at the back there, has joined us. He was having a bad train day, which is why he wasn't here at the beginning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a pilot project that we did with the Environment Agency on using, taking their catchment management data. So if you know the Environment Agency, it's the catchment planning system data that they've been working on bringing together from different regions into a kind of central head office function, making that available as linked data. So this was a pilot project that ran from about January through to about March of this year. So it's a fairly short project just to see what was possible and what would be valuable about doing that, and then to go and gather some feedback. And then at the end of that, I'll talk a little bit about what the next step in the project is going to be. So essentially, I'm not going to go too much into the technicalities of what linked data is, but essentially what the goal of the agency is to take data which is currently held within the organisation and sometimes made available through things like data share, but make it publicly available. Publicly available in two forms. One as a data API, so that people who are writing software, so developing applications or building their own mapping applications, can directly access that data via sort of query programming interface, and also available via some sort of application that would allow non-technical people or people who didn't want to be writing programs and writing queries to pull the data and be able to use it. Now, the key to this and the approach that has been settled on by the Environment Agency is this notion of linked data. Now, what is linked data? Well, if we consider some situation that we're trying to represent. So here we've got a sample data, a sample in the middle is a water quality sample that was taken on some particular date at some particular location. This happens to be Seaton in Devon on a particular date, and we have an E. coli count, which results in a particular classification under the Bathing Water Directive. So that's the data that we're trying to represent, and then we have these relationships between these real-world values. And essentially, what linked data is doing is providing constants that allow you to present that network structure, the relationships between those pieces of data, in a meaningful way. That's, in a sense, what a database does. So that's really not that different to other forms of data publication. The two differences, really, that make linked data an attractive approach for doing this kind of thing. First of all, it's very flexible. This network model is very extensible. When you create a database, you have a very rigid schema with certain tables, certain columns, and so forth. And if you want to extend that, you have to add more columns. It's tricky. With linked data, it's very much more extensible. It's very much more flexible for representing and integrating data from different sources. The second thing, and I apologise, I won't go into the details of how this happens, but just to tell you that it does. These data extracts, when you take them out of the database, out of the linked data store, they are still meaningful. The problem with a database is if you take a row out of a database, you lose the context of what that means. So unless you know what the columns are and what they mean and how they relate to each other, you don't really know what that data means. The linked data approach allows us that data to keep its meaning as it's used in other places and taken by people to use in their own applications. And that's really those kind of characteristics, that flexibility and that meaningfulness that travels with the data, and the fact that it's typically this kind of approach underpins a very much more open and sort of transparent publication of data, is really what convinced the Environment Agency that was the approach they wanted to take for their public data releases. Okay. So obviously there's a cost to that. So you can't just take a data set and put it on the web. You've got to go through a series of steps. I apologise for the formatting there. It's gone a bit strange. And I'm going to skip over a lot of this stuff. The process that we went through was to develop the application that allows people to access this data, what we're trying to do is balance a lot of different needs. So we want people to be able to explore the data and find their way around it, but also experts in a catchment or whatever might need to extract the data and download it onto their systems or their GIS. We want to balance task specifics and knowing what the data is for or making it very generic. I'm having to go through these rather too quickly, I apologise. Is it for experts? Is it for members of the public? All these are the competing things that we've been trying to balance up. So this was the prototype. What you've got here is you've got various aspects of the data. So here's some water bodies. Here are some WFD classifications for them. We've picked out various different water bodies, different dates, different WFD classifications, and that builds this presentation. So the idea is to try and make an interface. This is very much the first generation, an interface which allows people who know what they're doing to find their way around and pull out the data that they want, but also to try and make it accessible to people who don't necessarily know that much about it. Skip over the... So back in May, when we finished this project, the agency began a process of consultation to see what to do next. So the people, various agencies, groups like Michelle's people at Rivers Trust had a look at it and gave some feedback on it. They took it around inside the organisation to get management support for going forward. The stage we're at now is that there has been approval in principle for a non-pilot version of this system to be commissioned in time to go live with the publication of the draft river basin management plans next July. And so the new project, so a new vendor a vendor will be commissioned to start that project in January 2014. We hope that's going to be us, but obviously it's an open tender. What we're doing at the moment and why Paul and I are here today is we're providing a report to the agency about what else can we say about what the requirements are for people accessing WFD data in this form. So what are the needs that you might have in terms of the way you want to take that data, the kinds of data that you need, the kind of detail that you need, how you need it, how you think other people might want to have access to those data sets. So we've heard some great comments today from various people, but if you have any thoughts on that, please feel free to bug me or bug Paul or take cards and email us or phone us or whatever afterwards if it's not time today. But very interested to hear any more comments on that. Yeah. Thank you.